Mr. Charles R. Thomas, who was the first African American to integrate the Baltimore City Fire Department. What I want to find out from you, Mr. Thomas, as a young boy, I mean, when did you get inspired to become a fireman?
Well, I'm glad you said when I was a young boy. All kids see me aspire want to be firemen. Not as many want to be policemen, but every kid wants to be, you would say when you go, want to be a firefighter. And that's something that I wanted to as a kid myself. And those times I couldn't even dream of being a firefighter, not a black anyway.
Okay, well, what gave you the inspiration to go there? I mean, to actually want to become a fireman, to walk up to there and say, I want to be a part of this?
Well, because when those of us took the examination those days, there were no blacks in the fire service at all in the city of Baltimore.
Right.
And that was the great inspiration for us all, to take that examination and come up there on that list and become members.
Okay.
That's what the inspiration was like, that there were none.
Okay. So what made you decide that I would be the first one? I would make it happen.
I need a job. Actually, and it was a living. My family there. It was a living, and I enjoyed it, and it was a challenge. That's the word. It was a challenge.
Also, I want to mention that we are riding in a limo with Mr. Thomas, and we also have with us the president of the Baltimore City Vulcan Blazers, Mr. Lloyd Carter.
How are you?
I'm just fine.
Thank you.
And,
thank you for coming.
Thank you
for joining us in the ride.
And we really appreciate it. I don't get to ride in the limo too often.
I was telling brother president on the way over, I said it's good to ride in the limo on a good occasion.
Amen. Yes. So tell us about how you got started with the Vulcan Blazers.
I got started with the Vulcan Blazers once I came into the fire department. Before I came into the fire department, my cousin, Robert Cisco.
Okay.
So I knew about the fire department. I knew about the Vulcan Blazers. I used to go. They used to have a lot of social events and sporting events and family activities. He used to take me to a lot of those. So I actually knew about the Vulcan Blazers as a young kid.
So is that also what got you?
Well, actually, what got me in the fire department was a job. Like Brother President said, I actually came in as a paramedic. I didn't come in as a firefighter. So my specialty is emergency medical services.
Oh, okay.
I'm the chief of the emergency medical services. But so that my interest has been in that field, and I got a job and offered a job to become a paramedic, and took the training and became involved in the fire department to that aspect.
Okay, but you're such a young man. How did you get to be president of the Vulcan Blazers?
I got to be president of Vulcan Blazers. I was primarily inspired by Brother Thomas and a few other people. My mentor who recently passed was John R. Johnson, who was the first African American chief of the paramedic service, and I worked very closely with him. And he was always very active in the Vulcan Blazers and the International Association of Black Professional Firefighters. And actually, when he died, because I was so close to him, and I just felt like that would be something I should do. I just felt like I've been given the opportunity for a lot of leadership training, not only in the fire department, in my college studies, as well as in the military. So I figured if I had all of this leadership training, why not use it for my organization?
Exactly.
And so I decided to run for president.
Great. The Vulcan Blazers, can you tell me a little bit about what they're doing, like out in the community, what they do with like young people to get them inspired to?
Well, one of the main things that last year when the problem with the hiring of the class that was voted minorities, or some people like to refer to it as all-white class, we became very active. It really stimulated us to get more active in recruiting blacks to come into the fire service, explain that this is a viable career, a lot of benefits, and then just the way that the public perceives the job. So we really became very active in that aspect of recruiting, going to the different various churches and media outlets, and we've been doing that. We've been very successful. The last 3 classes that were hired by the fire department since then, over 65% of the people hired have been African American.
Excellent. That's wonderful. Back to Mr. Thomas. Can you tell us about safe social access? What is it?
Social association firefighters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, well, in the early years, you weren't allowed in the union. So I always said the union gave birth to the organization.
Okay.
Yeah, because we came together because they wouldn't allow us in. Of course, we fought the union to get in because they were the official bargaining agent of the Baltimore City Fire Department.
Okay.
So I told them you didn't have to stay in, but you got to get in. And that's what came about this organization.
So you filed then a class action suit against the union when, in 1960?
No, I think it's 70. What's it called?
70, right.
1970. Not the Vulcans as such. We had a part in it. It was Louis Harper. He was the captain of the Baltimore City Fire Department.
Okay.
He and a couple other fellows, they actually did the filing suit, and we, of course, were backing totally. Mm-hmm. But they were the ones who did it.
And what's the percentage of African Americans in the upper echelon of the fire department?
In the upper echelon currently, I would say it's close to 50%.
Really?
Under the current administration, Chief Goodwin, I have to give him a lot of credit on the fact that he's very conscious about diversity. He's one of the, obviously before him we had Chief Williams, who was the first African American chief of the fire department. So diversity was almost a natural thing. Mm-hmm. When Chief Goodwin came in, there was some concerns that things may not be as diverse, but I think he's been making a very prominent effort, especially in the upper echelon. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of African Americans who are deputy chiefs, division chiefs, battalion chiefs. Myself, I'm a bureau commander, so I think he works hard to maintain that.
Did you ever dream that, Mr. Thomas, did you ever dream that the activities that you did or the things that you put in place would ever come to this point?
Never. But I had, back with thoughts of this coming about. Mm-hmm. Now, see, many thought we came in this far department, my dear, we were going to just peter out. Mm-hmm. An old friend of mine said that when the first blacks came in, telling some of the whites who were opposed to us coming in to begin with, you think we're just fooling around here, but we're here to stay.
Okay.
And we've been here to stay. And I just tried to encourage more young blacks to come into it, And I don't think we've been too well with that, have we, Carter? We're doing
well,
right.
like I said, this year we really made a concerted effort to get out and recruit, and it paid off.
Okay, so when you're in your recruiting, you go to the schools?
We go to the schools, went to like I said, the various media outlets, and I think that was probably one of the things that wasn't done in the past. It wasn't a real concerted effort. If the fire department was hiring, it was a word of mouth thing. Right. And it wasn't a lot of talk in our communities.
Right.
So we put it out there on the radio stations, on the TV stations, in the papers, at the colleges, at the high schools, and we continue to promote it that way. So even when you pull in front of the organization, you'll see right out in front that we have signs, gigantic signs telling people where to call the hotline. Mm-hmm. So we're constantly recruiting. When you ride by our organization, we're constantly recruiting. And then what we did is we allowed Baltimore County, who has a sister organization, which is known as the Guardian Knights, to put a sign out there. So when they are hiring, so as blacks come through this community, they see that these job opportunities are available. And even as of last night, somebody came in looking for an application.
Okay, so say there's some young people out here who are interested in becoming firemen, they can come through your organization?
What we do is we funnel them to the 1-800 number, which is the hotline. The hotline, they get on an entry-level interest list. Mm-hmm. So once the hiring process opens up, they're contacted, and then we actually have the applications here. So they open the way that the hiring process should go is probably by the beginning of the summer. The fire department should be starting off.
Well, what is the training process like? I mean, where do they actually get the training?
They go to the fire academy. No, they go to the actual fire academy. Is on Pulaski Highway.
Oh, okay.
6200 block of Pulaski Highway. And they go there. The training lasts anywhere from 3 to 6 months based on what they're being trained on or what type of knowledge they have when they first come. So but once you're hired, you're paid.
Now, do they
So
all
it's a paid training program.
do they all start out as EMTs or emergency medical techs?
Some people who are already EMTs will hire them, but if you can come in with not any type of certification, and normally the first course that they do get is the emergency medical technician.
Okay, and they have to have high school.
High school, age 18, good driving record, drug free.
Another question for you, Mr. Thomas. When did they begin hiring females in the department?
You're farther to go. I don't know.
The first female that was hired was Bertha Butler. She was hired probably in 1978, and she ended up being an EMS lieutenant. She ended up working for me. She retired about 2 years ago.
Well, we can do more inside.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, learning a lot here.
I'm just going to sit and let everybody get out so I can take people. You're relatives, right? Family.
In what capacity? That's his son. I heard you say dad. You're your sister.
I'm granddaughter.
Oh, okay. We'll catch up with you guys in.
Hey, Moody, he's like a half a case of steak. They ain't going to the day here. Hey, wait, no.
Here is a picture of Mr. Charles R. Thomas. It's his day today. Testing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? You're with Margaret LOCKLEAR, and it's the Great Blacks in Wax Open Forum. And as I told you earlier, we're at the Vulcan Blazers celebrating the dedication of the firehouse number 36, dedicated to Mr. Charles R. Thomas, who happens to be sitting right here with me now, and I am honored.
Yeah, I'm Nathan Queen. I'm from Washington, D.C., Progressive Firefighters, Washington, D.C. And my other hat is I'm corresponding secretary of the International Association for Black Professional Firefighters.
Okay, what do you do there at the international level?
Well, as I indicated, I am the corresponding secretary for the International, and I do many things, and certainly thankful to Charlie Thomas, who's always been an advocate, or probably the lead advocate for the black struggle in the fire profession. And I owe him a lot, and every brother or sister that's working in this profession owes him a bit of gratitude, a lot of gratitude.
Well, Mr. Thomas says you're the man of the hour. I mean, there's just been so many accolades about you and what you've done to change things in the fire department. You want to tell us? We spoke a little bit in the car, but I want you to expound a little bit more on your involvement and what inspired you to make the changes that you did.
Well, the inspiration came from when we entered the fire department. When I say we, I mean we African American entered the fire service. It was, how shall I phrase it? It was not a comfortable place for an African American to find himself. It was quite awful. But the one thing we did, and I got it from a great black labor leader, A. Randolph, I guess you're aware of him.
Yes.
And he told me when I met him in New York, he said, what you need to do, Brother Thomas, is go back here, that beautiful baritone voice. He said, go back and organize those fellows. And that's what I and others were able to do. Come back and organize, get the groups together. Because without organization, you have nothing.
Exactly.
The body politics, the powers that be, listens not to individuals. They listen to organized structure, believe me. And so that's what we were able to do.
And what did you do to begin the process?
Very easy. So what hell they were in and what they got to do to get out of it.
Well, tell us some of the hell that you endured while you were a member, when you first integrated the department. The school itself, the firehouses. I mean, what was that
the
experience
firehouses, they had their, see, in the fire academy, and incidentally, the fire academy in those days was located at Engine 36, which is the company that I was assigned to, Bentonville and Emerson Avenue. I think we did an interview out there. That's where I was assigned. Right. That was the fire academy before they built this big, beautiful fire academy out here on Pulaski Highway.
Okay.
That was the fire academy. So it was fortunate for me. I was able to meet all the young recruits coming in and sort of indoctrinate them, get them to join the organization. So it was a good spot for me. It's a blessing in disguise, so to speak.
Right, but at that spot, I mean, were you the only African American there at the beginning?
At that time, yes. And 6 months later, I was joined by another black firefighter. His name was Lawrence Bynum. Couldn't have been joined by a better fellow. He worked right along with me. He came about 6 months after I was there. And he was very helpful to me. Because you have to understand, not all black firefighters were willing to get involved in the process of open mobility. Not all.
It must have been really hard. I mean, it was demeaning for you.
Well, it wasn't easy, put it that way. But a good many of the guys joined, and we were trying to convince them, like I said before, I guess I'm being repetitious, organization is the key to getting anything done. You have to first organize. Queen will tell you that.
Right.
You got to organize.
Right. Well, the reason I'm asking you to expound on it a little more is because we want other young people, we want other firefighters who did not have to endure that, the humiliation and the demeaning of your personality in integrating these places, what it was like for you.
Well, you're saying, what would I say to these young people?
The ones who,
Today, because they have become, what might you say, I hope I'm wording it, non-vigilant. They're not aware of the things. It's ongoing, my dear, it's ongoing. And all you need to do is all that it takes for evil to triumph is for good to remain silent. So what I'm saying, what they've got to do is the same thing that we did earlier. Maintain and keep on keeping on. My friend, former Senator Clarence Blunt used to tell me that. Thomas said, keep on keeping on. You've got to keep on with what you were doing. That's the only way. All our great black leaders, Malcolm X, they all said it. Keep on keeping on. You find out how the white power structure got theirs done, and you have to imitate exactly what they did to get theirs done, to get yours done. As simple as that.
As a representative, what are you, I mean, in the communities, how are you being able to explain to young people what some of these people like Mr. Thomas endured and what they need to understand, what these pioneers have put in place for them?
Well, we certainly recognize what the pioneers have done, but also, and Brother Charlie Thomas is a little modest right now, but he did go through and endure an awful lot. Today, the struggle is still just as great, and he mentioned the word vigilance. Young firefighters need to understand that there's this hidden racism or this discreet racism that takes place now. We've moved from one generation of discriminatory practices to another generation of discriminatory practice. This profession will always be that way, and unless blacks come together and understand that yes, while this is a wonderful, wonderful profession, you still have to maintain a direction of advocacy for upward mobility, for tenure on the job, promotions, everything else. You still have to go and fight through those glass ceilings and everything else that are buffers and obstacles in your way towards a meaningful, worthwhile career.
I understand that there's some, did you want
No, I just want to comment on it. Very well put.
to, really,
Hardly much for me to add behind that. Very well put.
We certainly advocate that blacks, young blacks, any age black who wants to be a firefighter, to certainly check with their local jurisdictions when application announcements are made, job announcements are made, to apply for those positions. It's a wonderful profession, wonderful benefits, it can support a family, and yes, you still need to stay organized, as Mr. Thomas indicated, to get over those barriers that are in your way.
Well, on a personal level, I have a son who is in the military, and he had, when he retired the first time, he tried out for the fire department. But like you say, where do we find out when these tests are being given? When are these jobs available? Because he was here for about 6 months. I got to visit my son, and he could not find a job at the fire department, which is what he wanted to do. So he went back into the Army, unfortunately, because he had to take care of his family. And so when he comes home again, praise God that he makes it home this year, what would he have to do to, apply for a job? I mean, he put in applications, but nothing happened.
Well, with the fire service, you just don't put in an application like you go to the post office and apply to being a postman. They have, it's posted, and the Vulcans here will hear about it, and it's posted in the city rundown when they're going to hold an examination. And that's what they have to get in on. Get in on examination, take the examination, study all the materials that you can possibly find to pass the examination. So you do well on examination in order to come up on the examination so you'll be selected. And that's the most important thing. And also, we try from the point of the organizational structure. But the one thing that the whites are doing, and I approve of it, it's called nepotism, whereby you involve your youngsters. That's why they call it nepotism from the male gender. Getting your young males to come in now, females also, to come into the fire service. It's a family structured organization, and we blacks aren't playing it like the Irish Catholics did years ago, when there was the fire department consisted mainly of that ethnic group, and we've got to get more involved in it. And I don't know why, for some reason, of late, not many blacks are coming in.
Exactly.
And if you don't look like it, I told, before I left the Fire Defense Bureau where I was last stationed, if you don't look out, I said, the fire department will be all white again. He
Exactly.
said, oh, child, you know what you're talking about. I said, I know what I'm talking about. And you know I know what I'm talking
Exactly.
about. And we have only ourselves to fault for that. Young blacks don't want it. It's a good job. The many benefits, the retirement system, you know what I mean? They're galore.
But I do a lot of traveling around the community, and young men really don't find it achievable, and a lot of them don't attempt. And like you say, fire department may end up all segregated again,
right? Because
the young people don't feel it's something attainable. I understand what you were saying, but I noticed that when I read the paper and they're looking for somebody for the fire department, they usually say EMT, paramedic, and then firefighter. But I found that to be a deterrent for most people because they're not interested in that level of a job as far as paramedic. Some people don't like that, having to pick up bodies and whatever. And they also don't, want to be an EMT, one, because it doesn't pay as much as a fire department. Can you tell me what the purpose of that is, or is there some way that if a person just wants to be a firefighter, that they can just join the fire department for that purpose?
Well, the main reason that is because most jurisdictions are under budget restraints. When they advertise for a firefighter EMT or firefighter EMS, they can get two personalities or two professions in that one person. And as you may look around the country, you'll see where many fire departments are going towards that way in advertising for hirees, firefighter, EMT, and that's how they beat the budget. Some jurisdictions have an ambulance unit only.
Okay.
Those are being phased out, and that's where you get the firefighter, EMT.
What do you have to say about that? I mean, what can we do to
Well-
change that to get more people involved in the fire department?
I don't know too much you can do to change, you know, because once in, then the program starts, you know. Like in the Baltimore City Fire Department, they may operate far different from Washington, D.C., New York, or Philly, what have you. And here we have, in the fire department, may have a firefighter detailed to the ambulance service, but he may be a full-fledged firefighter. But out at the fire academy, they train you for.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to share with the community about, you know, well, as a matter of fact, what are you doing now that you're retired? What are you doing with your time?
Nothing. That's a guy
Must
said,
feel good.
I helped my brother, and the guy said, "What's your brother do?" Nothing, and I helped him. So I'm not doing too much, but I'm deeply also interested in still in the fire service. For instance, a neighbor of mine told me he was out on Pulaski Highway. This is very important, and he saw 30 probationers out on their break. They all were white. So I immediately called Commissioner Clark and told him about it, and they got that corrected. Because the degree that we won in the state and federal courts under Kenneth L. Johnson, now lawyer, now judge, retired, was that each class would have to have a percentage of blacks in it. And they have violated that mandate, you see. And what I find here, these people, I don't like that term, but I have to use it, if you don't look out, you must be vigilant. They'll do anything they so desire unless you're on their butt. So I immediately called and told them about it. They corrected that class. They had 30 young probationary firefighters. They were all white. I said, "Well, you're racist." It's not racism. They have violated that which we won in the federal and state courts. Each opinion of probationaries must be so many black. They knew that going, but they prefer not to adhere to it, obviously.
Because they thought nobody was watching.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and
Well, thank you,
for letting me take this opportunity to talk to you. And it has been most honor for me to meet you, Mr. Thomas.
My dear, likewise.
Thank you very much. And we'll be right back.